Today, we're diving into Buddhism, a philosophy that kicked off over 2,500 years ago, because one person asked a question. A question that, let's be honest, we've probably all asked ourselves at some point.
Yeah, that's the big one, isn't it? Why is there pain? Why do we feel dissatisfaction and a constant sense of unease? Well, that very question, that's the heart of it all. It's the central problem that Buddhism sets out to solve.
And get this, the guy who went looking for the answer wasn't some scholar locked away in a library. Nope, it was a prince, a man who had literally everything you could possibly imagine, and yet even he knew something was fundamentally missing. His quest for an answer, well, it would change the world.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, with the founder himself, Siddhartha Gautama, and the moment his perfect, protected world came crashing down.
So, picture this. Siddhartha is born a prince, and his father goes to extreme lengths to shield him from any hint of suffering. But, you can't hide from reality forever. At age 29, he finally ventures out and sees what are now called the four sights: old age, sickness, and death, and it just completely shatters his worldview. But then he sees the fourth sight, a peaceful, holy man, and that's the spark. He gets this idea, maybe there's a way out, so he does something radical. He leaves it all behind, the palace, the wealth, everything, to find that answer. 6 years later, sitting under a tree, he finds it. The prince is gone, and in his place is the Buddha, which simply means the enlightened one.
So what did he actually discover? It wasn't some kind of divine message from the heavens. It was a clear, profound insight into how reality works, which he then laid out as four simple yet noble truths. But first, what even is enlightenment? It's not just, feeling blissed out all the time. In Buddhism, it's a total, unshakable understanding of reality, a state of wisdom so deep that it frees you from suffering permanently. It's the ultimate goal. The Buddha laid out his discovery like a doctor's diagnosis, which is just brilliant. First, the symptom, life includes suffering, or dukkha. Second, the cause, it comes from our craving, our attachment, and our constant aversion to things we don't like. Third, the prognosis, good news, there's a cure. It's actually possible to end suffering. And finally, the prescription, a specific path to follow. It's a problem, a cause, a solution, and a guide all in one.
So if that's the diagnosis, what's the actual prescription? This is the how-to of Buddhism, the specific actions and mindset needed to actually find that freedom for yourself.
This is the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, it might look like a long to-do list, but you can think of it in 3 parts. First is wisdom. That's having the right understanding and right thought. Next up is ethical conduct, using right speech, action, and livelihood. And finally, you have mental discipline, applying right effort, mindfulness, and concentration. They all work together to create a complete framework for living. Now, the engine driving this whole system is the concept of karma. It's not about fate or some cosmic payback. It's much simpler. It's the law of cause and effect. Your intentional actions, good or bad, create ripples that determine your future experiences.
And where do these actions lead? To samsara. This is the endless, repeating cycle of life, death, and rebirth. For Buddhists, this isn't a good thing. It's a cycle powered by craving and ignorance, and it's characterized by that same suffering, or dukkha, that the Buddhists set out to solve in the first place.
Here's a really simple way to think about it. Our actions, our karma, are the fuel. They just keep the engine of samsara running, locking us in that cycle of suffering.
The way out is nirvana. This is the ultimate goal. It's the extinguishing of the flame of desire, hatred, and ignorance. By achieving nirvana, you stop producing the karma that fuels samsara, and you are finally released from the cycle. That is the freedom the Buddha discovered.
Of course, the Buddha didn't just keep these teachings to himself. A community, known as the Sangha, quickly formed around him to learn, practice, and preserve this path. These 3 pillars became known as the 3 jewels, the core refuges for any follower. One takes refuge in the Buddha as the ultimate teacher, in the Dharma as the truth he taught, and in the Sangha as the community of fellow practitioners who provide support and guidance along the way. Now, the Sangha isn't just one group. There's an important distinction between the monastics, monks and nuns who dedicate themselves completely to the practice, and the lay community who apply the teachings while living a more conventional life. The two are interdependent. The lay community supports the monastics, who in turn preserve and teach the Dharma. As Buddhism spread, it naturally evolved. You can see 3 main branches. Theravada, the oldest school, stays focused on the original goal, personal liberation.
But then Mahayana emerged, asking a bigger question. Why not work for the liberation of all beings? And Vajrayana builds on that, adding techniques designed to speed up the process dramatically, aiming for enlightenment in a single lifetime.
So how did all this survive for 2,500 years? The answer lies in a rich collection of sacred texts.
The core of the Buddhist canon is often referred to by this number, 3. It's called the Tripitaka, which literally means the 3 baskets. The first basket, the Vinaya, contains the rules from monks and nuns. The second, the Sutta, holds the actual sermons and teachings of the Buddha. And the third, the Abhidhamma, is a deep, systematic analysis of the philosophy and psychology behind the teachings.
And beyond the Tripitaka, other schools have their own vital texts. For example, the Lotus Sutra is absolutely central to Mahayana Buddhism, and the Tibetan Book of the Dead is a key text in Vajrayana, meant to guide one through the process of death and rebirth.
But across all these texts and schools, there is a shared ethical foundation. The 5 precepts are the basic code of conduct for all Buddhists, monastic and lay. They aren't commandments, but rather personal commitments to cultivate mindfulness and compassion, and to avoid causing harm to yourself or to others.
So, it all started with one person's quest to understand suffering. The path he found has been followed for thousands of years, which leaves us with a question for today. In our world of constant distraction and dissatisfaction, could this ancient path still hold an answer? Something to think about.